I think I started up with stories, actually. They were unrelated to each other. But they were trying to say a very important message, that if you can find your swadharma, the thing where you can make a difference, where you feel passionately about, and if you can approach it with courage, and you can approach it with perseverance, because the one thing as women, we are always told that it can't be done. Whatever we do in life, right? Whatever business we start, whatever work we do, whatever ideas we have, generally we are told first only कि ये नहीं होगा, because it's not the way other people think. And so if we are to get over that and to find that part of us which is completely, in which we feel very passionate, I think the world changes. The world begins to accept whatever you say. And I gave you my own example. When I started 12 years ago, everybody said that you cannot file a patent in India. Everybody said that whatever clinical trial you do will never be accepted by the rest of the world. Everybody said we don't know how to do innovation, that we can't do something which is absolutely new, which is cutting edge technology. Everybody said whatever we do in India, we take it to the rest of the world, they'll say it's very shoddy, that the work is not world class. So they all said these things. But if you feel passionately that the scientists of India can deliver, that they are innovative, I have to tell you 50% of my scientists are women today. I started with 10%, but today they are more than 50%. And they are filing patents, they're doing unique work, they are finding innovations. And 10 years later, after I started this road to discovery, where I felt the passion that I really wanted to contribute, I think is starting to show results. So the same story of what I wanted to say today is something that I have lived and I have passed through and overcome the hurdles, which is why I was trying to share those lessons. That in the end, do take time to find this leadership, this swadharma, this area which is most important to you. So even as an individual, or as a corporate, or as a group, as an institution, everybody can find a way to really get their ideas going and take their ideas forward and take the whole country forward. Imagine if 50% of our population, which is women, all could take the country forward. Our GDP would not be 8%, perhaps it would be 16% or something, right? Because we can unleash the potential of women, whether it is at home, whether it is in the office, whether it's an institution, or whether it's at work. So that's what I feel. And through my own story, I've kind of lived it, and I try to share some of the lessons.
I think I'm going to ask a question. Is there a question? Yes.
Good afternoon, madam. My name is Priya. I'm from the pharmaceutical industry only. I have done my bachelor in pharmacy and MBA. I worked for more than 10 years in pharmaceutical marketing with companies like Wockhardt, JB, and now with Elder. So that's why I can connect with you so well when it comes to Piramal Group. Now, as you showed me all the stories, showed the entire group, and through that different messages you conveyed. Even as now, marketing has always been a complete male-dominated spectrum. In fact, in this, like maximum a lady could go up to was maximum MM or a GM level. You would hardly find any VPs and presidents of marketing. And when it comes to sales, it was purely males. So I have experience like, now I'm quite like, I'm handling a marketing head of a division. I've always found a lot of opposition from my male bosses, from my colleagues, from sales people, especially when I go to, out of Maharashtra in North and all. And, and there's so much of politics, so much of game happening. So whatever messages you have conveyed, like courage, persistence, passion, all that, in spite of having that, and in fact, contributing much more and having much more high productivity, even than a man. In spite of that, how does one, tackle all this politics, this game, and still, be focused and excel? Like, I just want to know that part from you. Because even now also the same scenario keeps on going. It's always happens, it's always there. I mean, whenever you go to work today, there's something of that sort will happen. So it's something like which I still don't understand. I mean, okay, I give my best, but always this, you keep on entering the same cycle of this game and politics and bossing and everything. So how does one tackle and go ahead?
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. So, very good question, and I think a very common one. I don't know what it is, but men love politics. They just look at the TV all day, 20 times they're watching what's happening in Delhi and all that, and I find it extremely boring. But they seem to like politics much more than women. So yes, I think it's a sort of natural male instinct, perhaps, tribal instinct of really knowing what's happening around in the world. But, I would like to give you a small example. I took over a pharmaceutical company, and like you, I was a few women in the whole field. I don't think there are many still. But I started a marketing division called the biotechnology division. At that time, the highest price of any drug sold was 3 rupees. And I wanted to start this division which sells biotechnology drugs which are made of recombinant DNA. Unfortunately, the price was 1 lakh rupees. So when I wanted to start it, everybody said, forget it, this is India, this is a very poor country, nobody can use these drugs, stop, 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 stop. But, I sort of looked at my own theorem and said, no, perseverance, have an idea, think about it differently. And I started the first all-woman sales force. And believe me, they got always the sales because they had one thing more than everybody else. They had sincerity. And they kept on persevering, and they were so sincere that one doctor finally told me, I got so fed up of your field force, which is all these women, they sit outside my clinic, and I had no option but to give them sales, I had to do something, because they were so persevering and they were so sincere. And those two characteristics, I think, can get you far ahead. No matter what politics people do, whatever they do, it doesn't matter. What matters is how sincerely you do your work, how perseverant you are, and how you're very clear where you want to reach. If you know those three things, and you have that confidence that, yes, this is my passion, I really believe in it, you can go very far in life. So all these hurdles, to sabko hota hai. Life is jumping. So I have this real lovely analogy whenever I think of people like you who have these problems, that you be like the mother Ganges. When she comes down from the Himalayas, big, big mountains stand in her path. But what does she do? She goes around them, and then she flows on. So every woman should be like the Mother Ganga. She flows on, no matter what hurdles they have, what mountains they are in the way, what stones are put in your path. You can flow on.
That in India we do a lot of research, we do a lot of innovations. How do we protect our intellectual property? There are so many new products, not only in science. In research you are protecting them by patenting. But we have other intellectual property, our own geographical indications. Those products were patented abroad. Do we need to educate the women, our other rural folks, how to protect the products? Agricultural products, or artistic products, songs. Some kind of a movement has to start to tell them that awareness has to be created regarding protection of intellectual property. You are doing it in the pharmaceutical sector, but there are other sectors where they are not aware of these things, their rights.
Absolutely, I fully agree. In fact, I've led the fight for intellectual property. That's why I was thrown out of this association, which everybody said we should not have intellectual property. And I really believe that we have the talent, we have the, the work ethic, and it is not just in the pharma industry where you file patents, or the auto industry, or the IT industry. You talked about geographical indications for agriculture. I think those are so important. The other day I was in London. And other than science, my other love is cooking. So I went to this chef studio, and he said, you know, the best spices in the world, they're all from India. And he showed me stuff which I had never seen or even heard of. He said cherry pepper, you know. Paula comes from the great Mariwala family. Mari means pepper. So they grew pepper for centuries. And that stuff, now the West is saying, wow, you know, you have the best in the world. You take vanilla pods, you know, a simple thing like vanilla. We used to make cakes with that vanilla essence, you know, which was just a chemical. But the vanilla pods, you know, grow where? They grow with our tea plantations. Wherever we grow tea, they grow vanilla. So the best vanilla in the world is in India. You know, and we don't even know it. We don't even use it, I mean, in that sense. And so I think we really need to do a lot more to preserve what you call geographical indications. Wouldn't it be fantastic if everyone talked about cherry pepper? If everybody talked about vanilla pods from Coorg? Or how many people know about it? You know? So a lot more things need to be done to tell people that we have something of value. Do you know the Maharashtra? It has the most wonderful forts in the world, right? We go to America and we go to these Grand Canyon and we go on these helicopter tours. But does anybody take a helicopter to see what forts are there in Maharashtra? How beautiful they are? What kind of dramatic landscape they are? जो अपने पास है, the jewelry we have, जो culture we have, we don't value it. We don't value it enough. And really, as you say, a movement must be made to make sure that we value all of it.
Ma'am, first of all, just wanted to say, you speak with passion, okay? Passion about our Indian culture, heritage, everything. So it was a very different sort of presentation you made. I guess wake-up call for everybody, you know, post-afternoon session also and otherwise also. Just wanted to ask, what's next, you know, in line for the pharma industry as well as personally for you?
Well, I just became a grandmother. So I have a 3.5-month-old granddaughter. And I suddenly realized, you know, how many kids there are in India. There are millions. And I said, what kind of brand do we have for them? What kind of stories do we tell them? And everything that I saw is imported. You know, it's from here, it's from there. There are pop-up books as Brer Rabbit. And I began to think, why not we create some kind of stories for children? And just 2 months ago, we launched a line of line of fragrances for kids from age 2 to 8, which is called Jungle Magic. And it has a dog, a cat, a penguin, and it has lots of stories which tell children about the environment. And why it's important is because it's an Indian brand. And it is world class. We have done work, you know, making sure it's not allergenic and all the safety features that you can find. And we have a website. So we are using world-class marketing ideas to sell an Indian brand for children. And I think life moves with you. You know, when I became a grandmom, it was a new experience. You know, I didn't know how it would feel. People said that it would change your life. And I think it is. So if you ask me, what's my next step? I'm really focused on kids. Oh, for the pharma industry. My theory is, and I showed it to you, you know, the US has made itself just more, it's taken a gun and shot its own foot and has made life so difficult for everybody that I think countries like India, if they can believe that I will be the leader, then I think it can, the first new drugs will not come in the USA or UK, they'll come in India. Example, diabetes. You know how many people have diabetes in our country? If you take every state in India, every state is more than 15%. If you draw it on a map of USA or Europe, this color is bright red. It's like a red flag. And if you look at Europe, UK, it is still pink. It is still in the lower colors, it's about 6 to 10%. So it's going to affect millions of people in my own country. But do you know how many people are doing research on it? Maybe 5, 10, 15, that's it. And we have 1 billion people. So my point is, if something is going to kill so many people in my country, should not the Indian government be thinking, what should we do now? What should we do right now? So that 10 years later, we don't have all these people dying from diabetes. And you could name any disease, India has lots of it. So India must become the leader, not the follower. I think that's, you know, when I say this story to all the people in America, they laugh and they say, what rubbish. India cannot be the leader, India will be the follower. So I consistently talk about it. I tell the Prime Minister, I tell his scientific advisory board, I said, sir, India must be the leader, not the follower. I think gradually little bit change is happening. Little bit. But we have a long way to go. But I am sure that that is what is going to happen.
I had a question for you. I believe what you say that India is, you know, it could be the birthplace of innovation as it has always been. But if you look at how the Indian education system is, our best scientific minds do so well in other countries, but not in our own country, because there is no space or no encouragement for innovation. Is Piramal involved in any public private initiative that can, say, train science so that you can use them for your industry and also the country progresses at the same time?
Well, the good news is that the West is slowing in its growth. People are shutting down research centers. So we are getting a reverse brain drain. We are getting good scientists coming back to India. And if we can provide good facilities and good instruments and good technology, we are getting what I call the brain gain. Because when they come back with knowledge, with technology, with experience, and then here they're able to put an army behind an idea. So let's say I got this bright idea and I put 100 scientists behind it, I'm going to get a brain gain. Because in the US, you'll have only 3 people with that guy. Here I have 100 people with a guy. So the brain gain is a multiple of what's going on in the West. And I think, yes, we are ahead of it. At least, I think around 20% of my R&D centers, people are American citizens. They're Indian who have worked there and have come back after 30, 35 years, and they're working in India again. We also have started a public-private partnership with governments to train headmasters of schools. We started this in 3 states, in Maharashtra, in Rajasthan, and Gujarat, where we work with headmasters to try and train them for leadership in education, which includes science, of course, which says, why can't we breed the discovery of science right in school, right in rural schools? Get the best people there who have this aspiration कि मैं भी कुछ कर सकूँगा. And this is going on. We have something called 100 Gandhi Piramal Fellows. They follow all these values that I talked about. They live in the villages for 2 years. They work with 5 schools in those 2 years to train the headmasters. And then they really improve the whole education system. But just to show you how small it is, even with so much effort is funded, we pay for everything. There are 700,000 primary schools in Rajasthan. Even if my 100 kids can do 5 schools, that's 500 schools. Even if I multiply that in 3 states, that's 1,000 schools or 2,000 schools. One state has 700,000 primary schools. That's the scale of the problem. So, unfortunately, that is what's in India. The scale of the problem is very large in almost anything that you talk about, whether it's education or health or infrastructure, you name it, the scale is very large. So, we have no chance to really make a difference unless everybody joins in. And more people join in, and this becomes like a rolling stone which gathers moss and becomes a huge avalanche. Okay? So I invite all of you to join in. The work in India needs a lot of you. It needs all of you. It needs all of you and your friends and your families and your daughters and your sons, to join in this whole idea of nation building.
Hello, ma'am. You are very passionate about R&D, and when you take up, I'm sure you must be, when you start some project, it's a long process. So when you finally finalize that yes, research will be done on this to cure this or to cure that, how is it that you finalize that let's go ahead with this research? Because it's sort of it's a long process, so you're not sure whether the cure will come out or no. It's almost a risky decision in the beginning when you are not aware where it will take you. So how is it that you fix, yes, let's go ahead with this research?
Yeah, very good question. Because the goal of discovery is finding a new drug as a cure. Nobody knows whether you'll succeed. And out of the 100 times you try, 99 times you fail. So certainly it is not for the faint-hearted. For people who, after one failure will say, "Acha, abhi I can't do any more." Because 99 times you'll fail. After you fail 99 times, you might succeed once. Even that you may not. So scientists spend their whole lives, just going, somewhere where they don't know. This Sir Paul Nurse, whose picture I showed you, his mother was a cook. His father was a factory worker. He used to walk to this poor municipal school every day. On the way, he used to watch these plants and say, why is some plants in the shade growing more than those which are in the sunlight? He kept asking the question, what is it about the natural world? And there he invented, and began to wonder why the cell works and how it works. And that's how he became a geneticist and then discovered the CDK, and then he won the Nobel Prize. So science is it's a mountain which nobody knows where we are going. Why does anyone climb a mountain? Because they're stupid, they want to climb Mount Everest, they want to climb so-and-so, but why? Because mankind wants to work for a better future. And they want to go where no one has been before. Why do you go to the moon? Why do you send a Sputnik up into the outer space? Why do we become an astronaut and go, and then whether you'll die or not when those rockets fall, who knows? But that's the point of science, I think. And the wonderful thing is that when you do achieve it, that satisfaction, there is no name for it. It is the most wonderful moment in a person's life.
So I want to ask a question based on that. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't see one more.
I was more asking you on the aspects you take into consideration when you fix, I want to research on this. Like, say, how many people have that disease, or it's like totally new, or like what are the considerations you take into account?
Yeah, well, obviously the first place is if there's a need for it. If I can go around, if I go to anybody, can I have your hands up? How many people know people who have diabetes? Yeah? Good answer. That's why we're looking. How many people know anyone who has cancer? Good answer. So that's how we go. We say, look, the need of so many people is to find a cure for this. How much it is affecting people, what a great struggle it is. And that's how we start. Then we say, okay, how many people in India? Because to me, that's the number one thing. ये जो भी मैं कर रही हूँ, I want to do it for my nation. So I want to say, how many people in India have this disease? And then I also look, okay, how many people in the world have this disease? So that India can therefore take this discovery and then affect many people in the world. So I draw a grid, and then I draw a line, and I say the number of people affected. Worldwide, number of people affected in India. And then I look at which diseases and how to work. So that's the way we do it. Lots of people do it in different ways.
So taking on that, I think we touched upon education. Of course, the scale of problem in education is huge, like you said. But what about our best institutions? We seem to isolate them. We really don't integrate and think about the problems that the science can solve. Do you see that our best of our scientific institutions, are they now integrating better with industry, with the real problems in India, or are they really centers which work in isolation? And like you rightly said in your presentation, we don't look outward. That's been the trend in Indian science. Is there any change that you see? And since we really don't have very many role models who are combining knowledge and industry effectively, in IT it's a different story, but in science per se, how would you think that we could change this at this level at least?
Paula, I wish I could give you a very optimistic answer. Unfortunately, our institutes are in a kind of island, and they do lots of great thinking. They're very good scientists. But it's where you translate that knowledge into action. That's where it's missing. And as I was explaining in my presentation, that, gunpowder happened in wherever, in England or Europe. King Akbar knew about it. Thoda unne import bhi kiya, thoda you can see some old drawings with cannons. But most of the people didn't know. And nobody in India ever thought that, just loading few ships, 3 ships with cannons would conquer a whole country. So think about it. It was such a small force. We were 1 billion people, or we are 1 billion people. That time we must have been, 500 million people. And this ship had 30 people. But with science and technology, with action, they could conquer vast lands, right? They got everything. They got our jewelry, they got our plants, the riches of India were in their reach. So my point is that we all have knowledge, but how do you translate it? How do you act on it? How do you grasp it? And how do you change institutes or change institutions? Unfortunately, that's what I call translational, and that is absent, or very little.
Any more questions? So I think I want to end by saying that what I really would like to take from this talk is what Einstein said: imagination is more powerful than knowledge. I think just knowledge probably is not enough. Let's all imagine and dream. And then, as we've been hearing for the last 2 days, let's execute and scale. And I think we'll all reach there and make India the great power that I think we all believe it can be. And Stri Shakti, I'm sure, will play a big role in it. Thank you, Swati, for coming and giving us a very inspiring closing session. Thanks again.